Lorenzo, what's for dinner tonight?
Well, tonight we're having some Caesar salad with chicken.
Oh.
So, for the dressing, we're going to want 2 eggs, some white vinegar, some anchovies, a couple lemons, some olive oil, and, as always, salt and pepper. Now, we're going to put that for some romaine, some croutons. Those have been baking for about 40 minutes now, with just some olive oil and cheese on bread. And we're gonna grill up chicken breast, slice that over the whole thing. So, first what we're gonna want to do is we're gonna want to make the dressing. To do that, you want to take your 2 lemons. You're only going to need 1.5 of these. Only one if it's a big lemon. And juice them to a bowl. Depending on how much dressing you're making, you might need more or less space. So we've got a couple tablespoons from those 1.5 lemons. If you don't want to use vinegar or as much vinegar, you can use another half lemon, but I kind of like that little vinegary taste. So, depending on how much dressing you want to make, you want to do a couple capfuls of just plain old white vinegar into that. All this acid is really just to sort of thicken up the eggs from, a raw egg into a sort of cooked egg. So then just take the knife you were slicing the lemons with, break that little guy open. Okay, so now you've got your lemon juice, your vinegar, and your 2 eggs. Now I'm going to go get a whisk. Whisk it all up until it doesn't need to be totally consistent. It, can be a little rustic. But just so there's no strings of egg white anywhere. After I've got all that, I'm going to want to take my olive oil. Just pour a good amount of that in. And then here I'm going to take the anchovies. Usually what you want to do is double the amount of eggs and get the number of anchovies. Since I did 2 eggs, I'm going to use 4 anchovies. Mince those as finely as you can. Back over them. They're pretty mushy, so they'll break up really easily. You can also use anchovy paste for this, but I like using the real thing. We're just going to put those back in there. Mix in all that olive oil and anchovy. So now we've got that all nice and whisked up. We're going to put in quite a bit of salt. How much? You do want it to be pretty flavorful. It's the flavor for everything else in the dish. And maybe about however much pepper you want to. Then whisk that in. Okay, so then now you've got your Caesar dressing. So I'm just going to put that into the refrigerator. And we can go on to our chicken. You want to rinse off all your chicken. You're all nice and clean. Then after your chicken's all rinsed, what you want to do is you want to transfer it to your chopping block. You usually want to use a separate chopping block for all your meats and things. What you want to do is you're going to want to slice that chicken up to about slices of about 3/4 of an inch, and do that through the whole thing. So once you've got all your chicken sliced up, you're going to want to go and get a pan. I like using cast iron when I'm cooking things that are sliced up just because it evenly distributes the heat. I'm using a pretty big pan here because we've got a lot of chicken. You're going to want to turn that on to about medium, a little over medium. Put some olive oil in there. And then just wait for that to heat up. Okay, so while the oil's heating up, I've had these croutons cooking about 20 minutes ago. I turned them off. They're just sitting in this somewhat warm oven. You can see that they're nice and crispy now. I'm just going to want to keep them that way, keep them a little warm to completely dry them out. Oh, so it looks like our oil's hot now. You can see that it shimmers a little bit. There's a tiny, tiny bit of smoke coming off it. So now it's time to put in our chicken. This is why it's nice to use a smaller cutting board, because when you're putting things in a pan, you can easily scrape them onto it. You want to move it all around to make sure that none of it is piled up and none of it's sticking. If your chicken does start to stick, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you get it away from the pan, because the longer you wait, if your meat is sticking to the pan, the harder it's going to be and the more meat you're going to ruin. So just for the first 2 minutes of cooking, until everything is, cooked a tiny bit on the outside, just enough to keep it from sticking, you really want to be diligent about making sure that it doesn't stick. And let it cook until it starts to brown on the outside, or you cut open a piece and it's white all the way through. So the chicken has been cooking for about 7 or 8 minutes. So now we're going to want to turn it down to a very, very low flame, just to keep it a little warm. Keep it cooking just so we're definitely sure that it's all the way cooked through. And now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to wash our head of romaine. Okay, so now that our head of romaine is washed, what we want to do is cut off this end piece and then chop it up. To about inch-long slices. You can also tear it or just, quarter it and leave it as a bunch of whole pieces, It's really just down to your preference. I like doing this just because you get a nice bite-sized piece. So then, once your romaine is all cut up, get a salad bowl. Okay, so you're going to want to get a pretty big salad bowl, depending on how many people you're serving, and put all your lettuce into that bowl. It's okay if it doesn't totally fill the whole thing. We're going to be adding other things. And then pour about 3/4 of that into the salad. We're going to leave a little bit left, and it's okay if the anchovies sit on the bottom. That's really not a big deal. You're going to toss the salad. We're going to save a little bit of the dressing to put on after we put on all the cheese and the croutons and the chicken. So then you're going to want to take your Parmesan. I like Parmesan because it's salty, a little bit, has a nice flavor. It's really good for salads. Other cheeses are good too, but it's best to use a hard cheese, just because soft cheeses would mess with the textures of the lettuce and the chicken and everything. Grate a pretty good amount all the way over the salad. You really want to get the top of the salad coated, but the one thing you don't want to do right now is you don't want to toss the salad just yet. Because what happens when the hot chicken that we've been keeping warm in the pan, when it hits this cheese, it's going to melt the cheese and then cool off really quickly because of the salad. So you're going to get this nice melted cheese around the chicken, instead of just having cold cheese, cold chicken, cold salad. The inside of the chicken, however, is going to stay pretty nice and warm, so it's, you know, a nice, or part of a nice warm meal, but also a nice healthy salad. You can really put as much cheese or as little cheese as you want. I'm probably going to put a little on at the end when I'm serving this, but just for the chicken, this is about enough. So, now I'm going to take the chicken, turn that all the way off. This pan is getting pretty hot because it is cast iron, so I'm going to take just a rag or anything to hold it, and then I'm going to put all this chicken right onto that salad. You can see that it's steaming a little bit. That's great. That's what you want. You want the cheese, you want the chicken to be hot so the cheese will melt right onto it. Okay, now that our chicken is on our salad, we're going to want to grate a little more cheese, just to keep that chicken nice and cheesy. Then we're going to take out our croutons. You can take these out earlier if you want to. I just did because it clutters up the stove, but if you have time before, you can make these the night before or something, and just, you know, put them in the fridge. I like it when they're a little hot. You know, it goes with the chicken. Cheese will melt a little bit on it. So I'm just going to take a nice little spatula and take all the croutons and put them right onto that salad. Now the salad still hasn't been tossed. Just to make sure that that cheese gets all around the croutons and the chicken, and the croutons don't have as much time to soak up all the dressing and lose their nice little crunch. Yummy. My technique for making croutons is usually to soak the bread in olive oil first, and then grate a little Parmesan cheese on them, and then bake them at a pretty low heat, you know, 250, 300, for a long period of time, and then let them sit in the oven to dry out. So, we've got all the croutons transferred onto our salad. We're going to grate a little more cheese. Again, we are eating a salad, so you can't feel guilty about having too much cheese. Or at least that's the way I think of it. And we're going to take the last bit of our dressing. You can see that there's some anchovies gets in there. We're going to want to put that right on top of everything else. Now is the moment you've all been waiting for. A little squirt of lemon juice. No, but seriously, now is the time that you really want to toss the salad. When everything has been infused with the lettuce, all the cheese has started to melt, and you just want to do this as quickly as you can to make sure that you can eat this before all the croutons get soggy. So then there you have your nice, cheesy Caesar salad with some nice warm chicken, warm croutons, and homemade dressing. Enjoy!